We just finished the second week of VCT Americas Stage 2 2025. So it's time to look at all 12 teams and talk about how they're feeling about their position right now. Are they feeling panicked? Are they feeling good about where they are? Where is the pressure being most applied, and how are teams handling it? Well, let's jump right into it. So this is the board we have today. As you can see, we have all 12 teams right below me, and then we have our categories. Going from top to bottom, we have the very top, which is the Chad category. So you're feeling very comfortable about where you are. There's no worries at all. You're feeling great. Hopium is a step below that, so you're still feeling quite good, but not exactly locked in to that position of feeling good. Still the potential of falling back. Then there's Copium. This is our middle rank, so teams that aren't feeling terrible but aren't feeling great either. Then we have Panic, pretty self-explanatory, and then we have the Withered Wojak, which is just, there is no hope anymore. You are basically just done. And to start this video off, we will be putting a team in that Withered category, because Furia, yeah, it's pretty much done. While there are visa issues that are holding this team back, they're not able to get their player in Basic, who they were playing with before this stage, Adverso being that sub and actually playing pretty well. Plus apparently some coaching staff can't get visas, so there is a lot of issues being thrown at this team, but unfortunately they haven't weathered the storm for those players and coaches to come into a good situation, especially after getting 13-0'd by Sentinels. Definitely not a great look, so the season's pretty much done for Furia now. Another very disappointing year from this Brazilian squad that is looking to maybe get back to their 2023 form, but it just looks like this is not going to be the year, so we will see where they go from here. Moving on, we have Leviatan, and I think I'm going to put them in Copium. Maybe there are some fans that are feeling Hopium level about them, feeling good. Sato looks like an amazing addition. Kane had a really good match last time. A lot of these players that were struggling in stage 1 look like they're doing well now, but they still did lose against Loud, and then they destroyed MIBR, a team that is struggling. So in terms of being truly tested, I definitely want to see where they go from here. I think they have potential to be one of the top teams in the Americas. I do really like the roster additions that they had. This roster makes a lot more sense now. Their roles are where they should be, but I can't really justify putting them in Hopium right now. It's going to be very dependent on how the rest of the stage goes for them. Moving on, we have G2, a team that for basically the whole year has been in this category, but because Leaf is out right now, I will be putting them in Hopium. There isn't any reason to feel any pressure for this team right now. They have plenty of time before champions. Leaf does have time to come back. Baby Bay as a sub has not been bad for them, but still until Leaf is fully back and healthy, there is going to be that lingering thought of, is he going to be 100% for champions? Because if he's not, that is going to hinder them quite a bit. So we will see how that goes for G2. I do expect Leaf to be back probably after the next match, but we will see if that is what ends up happening. Moving on, we have Energy, and I think Copium is the right spot for them as well. They had a really good game against Loud, a team that also made some roster changes before this stage, but their opening week was a pretty abysmal performance against 100 Thieves. So which version of Energy are we really gonna get? This is a team that has struggled with consistency issues for quite a while now. This roster is much different than previous rosters. This team has already gone through like 2 coaching changes by going back to Bonkar and then having Verno going out, Scuba comes in, Brock is pretty new as well, Mata looks pretty solid. So there are some good things to look out for this team, but I still think with Ethan as their IGL, I'm not sure how far he can take them. But we will see. Maybe they can build off of that solid win against Loud and become one of the top teams in the league. I'm not holding my breath though. I think for them, they just need to focus on that steady improvement, so we'll see what they can do. Moving on, we have 2Game, and I think it's a pretty similar situation to Furia for 2Game, unfortunately. Spike is on the team now, and he is playing well. He is showing a bit of growing pains, but I also think that's partly just because the team is not very good overall. So him coming in as a rookie is not exactly going to turn the whole season around. There still is a chance that 2Game bounce back and end up making playoffs, but I just don't really see it happening. They have to be better than one of these 4 teams: C9, Sentinels, G2, and Evil Geniuses. And while there are some teams in those 4 that I just mentioned that maybe you could get an upset over, I don't think 2Game is going to leap them in any standings. So at this point, it does kind of seem like they're basically done for the season. It's going to be nice to see Spike play in Tier 1 for a little bit, but it might end up being short-lived, at least on this 2Game roster. He's probably going to get signed to Tier 1 roster next year, though. That is what I would predict. Moving on, we have Crew, and I think they belong also in Copium. After a bit of a shaky win over MIBR, there was hope that this team was going to be able to beat 100 Thieves, and instead they got stomped by them, looking pretty abysmal against them. They were struggling on Crow, the new map. They aren't playing double double duelist comps right now, which I think when you have Dante Deus and Kezin on your team, that is something you should at least try. So at this point, the problem might end up being on the coaching staff side of things, the coaches maybe not being as willing to experiment with those kind of compositions as the players might be, but maybe it's a player thing. I'm not really too sure, but either way, I think it's something they should consider. And I also see the IGL position being kind of a weak point for them right now. Them not having Adverso to be their mainstay IGL anymore kind of opens up the same problem that they had last year of their IGL position just switching throughout the year. But Crew do have a talented roster. They can certainly bounce back. Their next game is against Loud. I would pick them to win that, but we will see how they do. But I think for now, Copium is fair. Moving on, we have Evil Geniuses, and while I could also put them in Copium, I'm going to put them as our first Panic team. The reason being is they had a close game against 2G, so you lose that Sunset map, but you do win the other two maps. So it's not that big of a deal that you lost that first map, but it still shows that you're one of the only teams that 2Game was able to take a map off of. And then you have that C9 game where you lose on your best map, and then you have a 9-4 lead on one of the other team's best maps, and then you blow it. Completely falling apart in that second half, definitely not something you want to see. They do have some good things going for them right now, though. I think Ye is playing quite well, but players like Icy is still inconsistent. I was really hoping for a good year from Icy, but it just doesn't seem like it's there. And their overall roster, while they did perform well in Stage 1 playoffs, I don't know if I see that being a consistent performance for them. That might have ended up being their peak for the whole season, so we'll see how they end up doing for the rest of the stage. But with how shaky they looked against C9, I'm not exactly confident in their chances, so I think Panic is fair. Moving on, we have Loud, and this team might be one of the harder teams to rank in this, because if you're talking to me after their first win of the stage, they're probably around here, but then they lose to Energy, so does that bump them down? Because maybe we see some of the old proms coming back. I think overall I'm going to put them in Copium right now just because, I don't know. I don't think it's full-blown Panic right now just because they had that one loss, but it was a lopsided loss. Personally, I'm kind of leaning towards Panic, but in this one, I will give them the benefit of the doubt. There are some good things going on for this team, but I just don't see it even after that win over Leviatan. Moving on, we have MIBR, a team that I think is very easy to rank in this. Panic, it's not withered down in the depths just yet. They still have a chance to make it to playoffs. But right now, there is so much going wrong for this team. Almost everything has fallen apart. Your IGL position has now switched to a new player. And the first example that you had it in a match didn't exactly go well. Maybe Verno bounces back on IGL. I could see it happening, but it looked pretty rough early on. Ospas, your best player, one of the best players in the world, a player that can drag teams out of this sort of mess, currently is playing probably his worst Valorant in years. They apparently didn't get a lot of practice between Toronto and Stage 2, and clearly that's affected them a little bit. The vibes seem pretty down, the coaching staff don't seem to have an answer. This is a rough position to be in. They can still bounce back, which is why they're not down in the bottom rank, but it's going to be a tough road. The next team they have to face off against is 100 Thieves, a team that looks like potentially the hottest in the Americas right now. Then you have Energy, that could end up being a toss-up, and then you end your stage versus Loud, a team that you might be fighting for that final spot for. So at minimum, you're going to need to win 2 games, and then you're going to hope that you have the head-to-head matchup advantage against the other team that ends up going 2 and 3 if there is another one, which there might be. So for MIBR, you would rather just win your next 3 games, but with the state they're currently in, it doesn't look like a bounce back of that caliber is in store. Maybe it is. This team has looked quite good this year at different times, but they haven't looked good in nearly 2 months at this point, and that is very concerning. I am hoping for a bounce back. I was rooting for this team this year, but man, this is just a terrible time to have your probably worst stretch of the entire year. Moving on, we have C9, and I think this is another team to the seemingly large group of Copium teams. They are 2-0, so that's good, but they haven't really been truly tested yet. Easy win over Furia. That's every team that's faced Furia this year. And then you have a 2-0 victory over Evil Geniuses, where you did have a pretty big deficit to come back from, but they still had that ability to come back and win it. So I do think there's reason to feel good right now. One thing that people like the people that appear on Platchat have been saying is that, oh, this is like group stage C9, but honestly, usually it's just stage 1 that goes really well for them. Stage 2 is pretty up and down for them, at least historically. If you look at 2024, they had an abysmal record during stage 2, but they got into playoffs off of their stage 1 record. And then during LCQ in 2023, they were able to get 3rd in that tournament, but still, they were probably the favorites to win that LCQ, so they didn't end up doing that. So usually stage 2 doesn't go well for them. So the fact that stage 2 so far has gone well for C9, maybe the pattern is breaking. They're going to have to stay consistent. Oxy is going to have to stay pretty good. Zeppa is going to have to not fall apart in the big moments like he has in the past, and this team should be fine. I really don't know what to think of them. I don't think they're an elite team. I don't see them making it to champions, but they have a fighting chance right now. Moving on, we have 100 Thieves, and maybe some fans are feeling like this right now with their current record and how they've looked, but I'm gonna pump the brakes just a little bit and hop them down into Hopium. 100 Thieves are looking really good. There is no doubt about it. Kess, a pretty last-minute addition to their roster to swap out Boostio, has looked like a very good addition, especially off of not a lot of practice time with him, especially after EWC, which this team did go to. So it is pretty impressive that they've been able to be this good after that quick of a turnaround. But does it end up being a bit of a honeymoon period? Does Kess continue to be that X factor for them? Can Asuna be consistent? Is Xander the perfect choice for IGL, or is this just a good start? I do think there still are a lot of questions for 100 Thieves, and I think fans of this team should not be super lavish over their 2 wins so far. I think there's reason to feel good. I like what I've seen from them so far, but there is a chance that this doesn't last forever. So I think just enjoy the ride while you can and hope that they can be consistent and make it to champions. Right now, they look like one of the teams that should be able to make it, especially with a lot of teams underperforming right now, but I do think you have to set your expectations at least realistically. We will see what this team ceiling ends up being. They're up against MIBR next. They definitely are the favorites for that matchup, but with MIBR being a team looking for that bounce back, is 100 Thieves going to be the victim of that? We will see. And moving on to our last team we have to talk about, we have Sentinels, who I think should be up here. I think you can make an argument for Hopium, but I think right now they're looking like the best team in the Americas. Some might say 100 Thieves right now, but in my heart I do believe that Sentinels is better than 100 Thieves. Maybe not playing better, but they just 13-0'd a team very easily, so you know, I do think they're performing quite well. This team looks locked in after a Toronto performance where they did only beat Chinese teams. So while they did make it decently far, there is that asterisk on their international performance, kind of like there was at Bangkok where they just got destroyed in their only 2 matches that they played. So as I said in my Power Rankings video, I think this team wants to be in prime form heading into Champions if they do make it there, which looks very likely. I think they're probably going to win the whole stage. I think that's what they want to do, especially having both the kickoff and stage 1 title ripped away from them by G2. I think it's definitely their mission to be the best team in the Americas right now, and I think fans of this team should feel pretty comfortable right now. Don't see any reason to panic. You're in a great position with champs points, and you just need a few more wins to guarantee that spot, and then from there, it's just experimenting and preparing. So we will see if this high point for Sentinels ends up continuing. Of course, there are questions you could ask about this team and question how good they really are, but you could say that about every single team on this board, and I do think Sentinels are looking quite good right now. So that is all I have to talk about today. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think of my rankings? Where would you put teams? Where would you put your favorite teams? Let me know all that and more in the comment section down below. Please click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.